Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Peter MacASKILL, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Nova Scotia Business Inc. This panel is about innovation, and specifically how digital adoption enables innovation to both increase revenue and increase productivity. First, a quick note about how to engage. You will notice on the side screen that there's a Q&A channel. If you have any questions, please drop them in there, and we'll be sure to save some time at the end so we can answer those questions. Business as usual was never a long-term strategy. Your clients demand more and you adapt, improving your product and your processes. But through the pandemic, innovation, especially digital adoption, occurred at rates never seen before. NSBI works with Nova Scotia companies that are retooling, launching new products, and adapting to e-commerce. It's imperative that Nova Scotia's exporters maintain this momentum. Early in the pandemic, we knew our travel program wasn't going to be utilized, so we shifted and we launched the Digital Adoption Program. What started at $1 million program grew, and with the support of our minister and ACOA, it became a $2 million program that supported 350 Nova Scotia businesses. At a time when we may feel tempted to hold back, we know that our competition is not. And as the world continues to change due to COVID, we don't want to see anyone left behind or see today's challenges compounded tomorrow because we didn't adapt. Our core outcomes at NSBI are to increase export revenue, productivity improvements, and investment in innovation. And you see this in our business plan, our programs, tools, and services, and our everyday interactions with Nova Scotia exporters. And in case you missed it, NSBI launched our Export Development Program today, which includes a stream for getting assistance with your digital adoption. The stats tell us that firms who increase their export markets also do better. Exporters have higher revenues, higher margins, and are more productive. You have to, in order to keep up, to keep your customers, and to gain new clients. And as social distancing measures impacted production and consumers shifted to online shopping, COVID-19 changed manufacturing, retail, and other sectors. Companies more than ever need to improve their competitiveness in the face of changing demand and increased competition. We've got some expertise here today to share their knowledge on how to embrace digital adoption. We're excited, and we hope that it will help you adopt digitally. Now let's meet our panelists. SAEED EL-DARAHALI is the president and CEO of Simplycast. Good afternoon, SAEED. Simplycast is a provider of multi-channel automated marketing services that empower businesses of all sizes to create, manage, and track their own marketing campaigns. Simplycast serves clients in over 175 clients. Under SAEED's leadership, Simplycast has won numerous business awards. SAEED is an advisor and mentor with many organizations, provincially and nationally, including the Canadian Youth Business Foundation and the Entrepreneurs and Disabilities Network. DARREN GALLOP is a tech entrepreneur and an information security expert. Good afternoon, DARREN.
Good afternoon.
As co-founder and CEO of Securicy, he led the team to develop a software-as-a-service product that guides businesses through creating, implementing, and managing their information security and privacy compliance program. DARREN previously co-founded Mercado and was CEO there for 10 years, until the company was acquired by Patron Technology. He is fluent in English and French and adept in Spanish. And last is Dr. Dawn JUTLA. Good afternoon, Dawn.
Good afternoon, Peter. Great to be here.
Dawn is the founder and co-CEO of Pure Ledger, a blockchain traceability company that produces sustainability proofs for products. She is also an award-winning entrepreneur and researcher. She is presently the Scotiabank Professor of Technology, Entrepreneurship, and Innovation at the Sobey School of Business at St. Mary's University. She is the author of dozens of peer-reviewed academic papers and has over 18 years of board experience in US and Canadian not-for-profits. So panel. The global management consulting firm McKinsey has identified that we experienced 10 years growth in 3 months for e-commerce penetration in the US. The tech giant Microsoft stated that they saw 2 years of digital transformation happen in 2 weeks. So e-commerce is more than setting up a website, and digital transformation is more than setting up a Zoom account. DARREN, Securicy is about managing information security and privacy compliance. How important is this as companies begin or experience digital transformation, and what should they do about it?
Yeah, so it is obviously become very important. If anybody spends any time watching the news, you see that there's hacks happening to companies of all sizes all of the time. And there's a lot of regulations happening as well out there on the federal level. In just about every country in the world, there's been some activity in the last couple of years around new privacy regulations. It's happening at the state and the province level as well. So if you're going to take your business, whether your business is primarily online or you're moving your business online, the minute you have PII, person identifiable information, which I think most internet businesses have some level of that. So I'm talking about name, phone number, address, any of that information, and as well as any more confidential information. If you're doing anything around healthcare, for example, where you may have medical information, things like that, or in finance, if you have financial information, credit cards, these types of things, there are requirements that you have to be following in your business. And if you don't follow them, you're basically, first of all, you're likely to at some point have a breach, which could be very negative to your business. And you're also likely, if you do have a breach and somebody learns about it, there's a high probability, especially if there's PII or financial information, there's a high probability that you'll have some sort of legal ramifications. And depending on your business, when you're thinking about exporting, we have a lot of customers that they can't just comply with one thing. If you're a Nova Scotia based or Canadian based SaaS company or digital company, chances are you have customers all over the world. Even just in the US alone, you have a variety of statewide privacy and cybersecurity regulations that you're required to comply with. So, that's certainly what's happening in the world out there. Now, if you're selling B2B, you're seeing that in even a different way. What's happening now, because so many of the big breaches have been through supply chain, third-party vendors. What you're seeing now, if you're trying to sell, especially if you're going upper mid-market and into enterprise, you can't just close a deal based on your marketing information and people liking your tool. So if you're selling a marketing product, let's say, for example, or service, the marketing department sold, they want to buy your product. What's going to happen before they're allowed to purchase that product and start deploying data and using that product in their business or that service in their business? It's going to go to the individuals in the security and privacy department that have to make sure that you're not bringing them out of compliance with any of the regulatory requirements they have, or also that you're not introducing new risks to their business. So you're going to see, you're going to be asked for things like, if you're in healthcare and it's in the US, you'll be asked about HIPAA. You may be asked about privacy impact assessments in Canada. If you're dealing with enterprise or larger organizations, you're probably being asked for something like a SOC 2 report, or maybe an ISO 27001 certification, as an example. These are the realities. If you're going into business and you're selling to other businesses, and you're going to be either interacting with their confidential information or their critical systems, or if they're going to be using, say, your cloud environment or using your team, who's going to have access to their information, they're going to put you through these requirements. And I see way too many companies that don't think about that while they're building their business. They're thinking about all the things we used to have to think about alone, which is already enough for anybody who's in business. You got to think about, do I have a product? Does it work? Do I have product market fit? Is my messaging on point? How are we selling it? How are we marketing? Okay, do we have customer success? Can we deploy this? What are the metrics? Also, you have to make sure that you come to that same table with the same level of consideration and focus on how your business thinks about cybersecurity and how your business thinks about privacy. And I see way too many companies coming in, they have all the other parts covered, and they just haven't been thinking about security or privacy, and they get to the table with a big opportunity and they fail. And they just don't have the opportunity. The opportunity goes away. And you really got to think about it early in your business now, more so than ever before. It's a lot easier to build a security program and build a company, a culture, and a product that has privacy conceptualized by design and security being a core pillar, an element from early days, than it is to wait till you're 20, 30, 40 employees and you have this big opportunity, but now you have to go back and fix things. So you don't just have to think about, well, what are the new things we're doing? How do we incorporate privacy and security into that? You have to think about the 10 years of code that's been written, the vulnerabilities that may be in there, a whole bunch of things. And it's a lot easier to do this early on in the business than it is to wait until you're in a tough spot or breached, which is even worse.
Yeah, you said earlier you were talking about people, some of the companies that you've worked with, and how when they get to the table, all of a sudden the client demands it, and I can only imagine it's pretty embarrassing if it's not something that they've thought of.
100%. And when the questions about security come up, when somebody who knows the domain is asking you the questions, it is very clear when they see your expression on your face on the other side of the Zoom call, when you have no clue about these things, and it's a really, really, really bad look, and it essentially erodes any confidence that organization is going to have in your business.
Great, excellent. Well, thank you for that, Darren. And I know that you also talked about supply chain risk there as well. So I want to switch to Don. And so Don, Peer Ledger is about helping your clients use blockchain technology to understand their data, supporting both social responsibility and supply chain management. So how does this technology help a company as they start or expand their digital transformation?
Thanks, Peter. So, many global supplier competitors that we have in Nova Scotia are still largely incapable of easily verifying where product inputs are made and whether they meet new responsible standards for social, environmental, and governance issues. So very similar to what Darren's talking about on the ESG side, right? And I see an opportunity for differentiation for Nova Scotia, that our tech can enable Nova Scotia businesses to easily provide digital sustainability proofs and to compete more successfully using sustainability as a differentiator. So companies of all sizes use our software to visually translate their sustainability efforts into one digital picture that they use in sales and marketing to capture new and retain old customers. Particularly, the trend watchers are listening to 73% of millennials have said that they will abandon their favorite brand if their supply chains harm people or planet, right? And so, we have an example of a sales director in a processor who whipped out his phone and scanned a product code on his packaging to show our visual proof to one of his customers at dinner. And basically, what it showed the customer was that he had oversight of his supply chain and that he can show it in an instant, right? And so there are also, other ways our software could be used. So in an internal facing usage, for example, we can put ESG risk controls 24/7 by 365. And so these risk controls are always on. And, in that way, the customers and the businesses have a sense about what is happening in their businesses internally. They have that security, and then it's so much easier to market, that they have no modern slavery in their supply chain upstream. There's no child labor, etc. So, these companies can track products as they're produced and packaged when it arrives at the factory or processor, the recording of the evidence of their accepting only materials that come from known producers, expectation of product loss during the processing. All of that is on the system of record. And so they can also say, they will accept only what production capacity is possible at certain processors or sources. And so then, they know that supplies are not injected from the grey market. And they can also continue tracking to warehouse, to port, onwards to international markets. They know exactly how much supply they have coming or going, and they can see the bottlenecks in real time. And a third way our software is used is to track progress towards a brand promise. So via, aggregating metrics on that single platform, which means that they can track things like, if they want to improve quality or show that they have a low carbon footprint, they can track those metrics. And really, all of these new capabilities are helpful to show your product's sustainability strengths to customers and to say that you have an end-to-end transparency into your operations with respect to environment, social, and governance issues. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So I think that was interesting, and I like how you tied in getting that sort of one picture, which can help with sales and marketing as well, right? It's very important because those millennials who can switch on a dime, if they see something, they're going to move, but you have to have something ready.
That's right. and sustainability is a key trend. There's no two ways about it. And really, customers, businesses need to be ready to be able to connect their back end to their front end. So what's happening in operations, what's happening in terms of their progress along a lot of different sustainability lines, because you can have sustainability with respect to the environment and in a number of different ways, right? So deforestation could be one. Around plastics recycling could be another one, reducing food waste, etc. So that's just environment. And then you have the social pieces around fair wages, around, no abuse, no conflict financing, etc. Right? And then there's a whole bunch around governance with respect to money laundering and so forth. And so these are really important parameters. Climate change being a huge one as well. Now for our businesses to look at how we can use sustainability as a differentiator across the board, and our software is one of the tools that you can use to show those digital sustainability proofs.
Yeah. I think another example, similar to what Darren was saying earlier, with respect to how things have changed, right? It used to be you have to worry about the fundamentals of the business, that type of thing. You got security coming at you. You got supply chain as well. It's not just about just in time anymore. It's about, okay, where's it coming from? What's in it? That kind of thing. So that's highly important. Thank you for that, Dawn.
Right.
Now switch to SAEED, and again, it's all about selling and getting to the client. And SAEED, you run an organization that provides multi-channel automated marketing services. How do successful companies integrate e-commerce into their multi-channel sales planning, and how do they stand out in this crowded marketplace, especially over the last year?
Absolutely. So you'll be surprised when I say that marketing is dead, and the future is really in engagement. And this is something that we need to all to understand and potentially engage in, because the digital natives and people that are using technology now has spiked compared to the last 20 to 30 years. Everybody has a device, everybody has a computer, everyone has a connectivity, especially in North America, compared to the other parts of the world. But we're nearing over 80 to 90% digitally connection, and any type of service that you want to engage in today requires that you potentially have some digital footprint. So at Simplecast, we've looked at what McKinsey have said and Microsoft have said, that we've kind of shortened or compressed the digital adoption cycle. We've gone to the extreme right now, and I think the market will probably go back to an equilibrium of some sort as things kind of open up with the vaccine coming back. But there's a huge opportunity that we need to capture. As Darren mentioned and Don mentioned, sustainability and brand awareness of where your product is coming is really important, and this should be part of your messaging and the type of engagement that you're providing, along with security. If you're not a secure platform, chances are a breach or anything like that would potentially harm your brand and cause you, potentially not to exist moving forward. So having these, as part of your arsenal and toolkit is important, but I'll take you to a level that you want to consider as part of your business, just to kind of answer Peter's question of how do you engage. So I've actually, over the last 15 years, I've done a lot of research to try to figure out what our businesses need to do to succeed. And I actually found 4 factors. If you focus on them, regardless if you're an organization, a business, a government, or an individual trying to create your brand, those 4 items that we came up with, and we've actually tested this across our client base, and it has worked probably 95% of the time, which is wonderful. And the 5% that it didn't work, it's just the person did not follow through on those 4 elements. And those 4 elements within the framework are called the engagement building blocks. And if you focus on those engagement building blocks, the first engagement building block for any organization, person, or business is the relationship building block. You need to understand how to collect the relationship between you and your customers. This could be an Excel spreadsheet, it could be in a CRM system, it could be anything, as long as it's digital. So if you're in a traditional business today, manufacturing, if you're in a traditional business in a retail store or anything like that, you need to get to the point where you're actually capturing the digital relationship that you have with your clients. That is step number 1. If you can do that, for the next year, you will be ahead of probably 98% of small, medium-sized businesses in the world today. If you go up to the next building block, is called engagement. So a lot of businesses engage with their clients, but they only do it once. And when they do it, it's usually thank you for your order, and then we've never heard from you. You'll never hear from that business again. And that is a huge issue for almost 99% of businesses that exist out there until you deploy some sort of technology to allow you to do this engagement automation. So engagement is the second building block. The third one is nurturing. So having a nurturing process as part of your business and understanding that nurturing process to allow you to, share with them, look, I have security certifications. I am building a sustainable process, and it reminds me of the Blood Diamonds movie that I watched long time ago. Ensuring that my sustainability of my supply chain is effective. Look at some of the things that I've done. Providing that nurturing campaign and sharing the information of your successes and the things that you're doing within your organization makes that individual more aware, or that client more aware of you and the things that you're doing within that business. And there's a high probability that when they need to choose a vendor or an organization or a nonprofit or an individual, they're going to think of you because you're engaging with them and you're nurturing them on an ongoing basis, where 99% of businesses are not doing that because it is, in their minds, they think it's difficult to do. But Simplicast has actually created the technology that allows you to do all these things at basically minimal cost, the way that you want to do it, by complementing the existing process. And the final building block that we've basically looked at, depending if you're a nonprofit or for-profit, is the concept of an uptake or an upsell. So once you take them through the first building block, creating the relationship, putting them through the engagement building block, and then nurturing them, the best thing that a business, individual, or an organization should do is maximize the ROI from your existing customers, which means that you're trying to uptake and upsell. And those four building blocks is basically what every business today that's watching us or organization needs to conduct to ensure that you're taking advantage of this very, very wonderful opportunity that we have, is that digital natives have expedited the process to adopting digital technologies. But you need to be able to capture that now before people go back to the norms again. And even when they go back to the norms, you will be ahead of the market if you follow those four building blocks, and you'll be within the 1% of the digitally engaged businesses, organizations around the world. And this is how you take advantage of the digital economy that we're in today. Back to you, Peter.
Excellent. Wow, that's great. Engagement and have those succinct four blocks is fantastic for the group. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. And it kind of leads into the next point that we were going to talk about as well, where digital innovation and what it means to the workplace and the workforce. So Deloitte research suggests that rather than destroying jobs, countries that have adopted automation, digital innovation, and advanced technologies have not seen the reduction in employment and manufacturing that other jurisdictions have experienced. So can you comment on the impact of digital innovation on the workforce? So, people that are you rely on, I'm sure, on a day-to-day basis. And on top of that, do you think that we are seeing a once-in-a-generational societal shift here to digital first? I mean, even Roll Up the Rim is only available on your app now, right? So, SAEED, do you wanna start us off on that?
Yeah, no, and the world goes into cycles, and if we look at the Industrial Revolution, the post-war, investments and so on, this is not unpredictable. COVID is only just a catalyst to something that's actually been occurring for the last 15 years, since the internet, the computer age has come into the spotlight. Businesses in general, I think for us to understand what's happening within the economic framework, is that the technology innovation and the speed of adoption of technology, including even processor power and what you could do with quantum computing someday, each one of those phases will ensure that the type of individuals coming into the workforce will be expedited into more of educational and transformational and computational type, skill set. The higher level of unemployment that we're going to see in the future will be more on the traditional, service-based industries and so on. But Uber Eats, we're going to continue to eat. We're going to continue to, to function. We're going to continue to go on vacations. Human beings, since, Adam and Eve, have always been doing the same thing every single day. They're looking for those Maslow's hierarchy of things, and those things are not going to change regardless of digitally. So I think what we want to think about when we're thinking digital and what employment is going to look like. It's more of the opportunities of convenience. And we want to think about the digital natives and what they're going to be looking for. So regardless of where we're moving to, I think the goal really comes down to one thing. What does the consumer want? And is the market able to, meet that demand based on the opportunity that we have? Bigger companies are going to continue to flourish. Smaller companies will probably suffer because, a lot of the things that we've talked about today, security and these becomes very, very expensive. So you want to be in a sustainable business. You want to look at the opportunity of what the market needs, and you don't want to, fall behind because you think that your business is doing well today. It doesn't mean that it's going to do well two years from now. And a good example that we all remember is Blockbuster. Blockbuster, we used to go to the movies, pick up and pay the late fees and everything else in between. People did not stop watching movies. They're still doing the same exact thing that we did, for 70 years or so. But the medium of, transportation or delivery became digital. And this is why I think the word engagement, regardless of what we do, you need to engage at the right channel with the right individual and the right client or target market. So if you keep those simple concepts in your mind with whatever business that you have, technology is just an enablement. And if you go to the desert today and you camp out and there's no connection whatsoever, you're still going to need water. You're still need to have a relationship. You're still going to need a shelter, and you're still going to need a way to feed yourself, either hunting and so on. So those concepts will not change. The digital aspect will just create new revolutions and new opportunities for new employments and skill sets in the world moving forward. That's my thought.
No, good point. And your Blockbuster point is well taken. I think people have looked at and studied that that particular company, as well as some of the camera companies and their experience through the years. I'll tell you, it'll be interesting to see how the movie theaters come back, because I sure miss that popcorn. I'll tell you that's one thing that you that you need to be able to get. Thank you for that, SAEED. And Darren, what do you think? I mean, we're at a moment in time here. So from your perspective, do you think, digital first, is this a driver? Is it a catalyst, as SAEED pointed out?
Yeah, I mean, as SAEED mentioned, this was all happening. There were people that were on the forefront and that were, already operating their businesses in very digitized manners. I think for a lot of those people, COVID happening didn't really change their operational capacity. Now, what happened in terms of their customers and all that stuff may be different, for better or for worse. But this stuff was already happening. The laggards were still, working in the more traditional way. This forced people that were thinking, maybe I can make it another 10 years and retire and not have to learn all these new things, kind of made everybody jump to the now, because it became a necessity in most businesses, right? So almost sort of, for the businesses that weren't properly digitized, whether it was their operational internal functions or how they communicate and relate with their customers, they either had to digitize or they had to close. So, I think like the necessity sped up something that was naturally happening, but I think, throw a number at it. I think we gained somewhere between 5 and 10 years in growth in the last year. There's a lot of bad things. There's a lot of businesses that struggle. There's a lot of things that are great. I like the fact that I don't travel anymore. I've been traveling in my career now for 20 years. Right. This is I haven't left Cape Breton Island since actually a little over a year ago now. Haven't even left the island, and it's not a problem. There's the removal of the expectation that I have to go fly to Boston and sit with people to raise capital, or that I have to make we have to go see each other in person to gain trust and build a relationship and sell a product. That is now not a requirement. And I think some of these things will go back to some degree, but I think that some of them won't. Like, I am hoping that I can continue to do what I'm doing now, which is I'm in a little 12 by 16 wooden cabin in the back of my property down by the water with really fast internet, selling a product internationally, right? So, and I don't have to travel to do that. That's a great thing. Now, there's other interesting things. I think if you think about it from a workspace perspective, so not even so much as an entrepreneur, but for people out there that are thinking about what their work opportunities are. So like, and this goes a bit two ways. So like, one of the things now that we're completely remote, Securicy doesn't have an office anymore. We're completely remote. So we now have people in Halifax, people in Cape Breton. Sometimes I don't even know or really care if they're in Sydney or in Halifax, because we're all just like little squares on the Zoom call or whatnot, right? But also, like, from a talent perspective, building that culture and the ability to like run a business that way also means if you need a very specific, special set of skills and your business needs that quickly, you don't have to find that locally. And I know that the objective here is usually that we try to attract people and try to employ people here, but hear me out for a second. So, an example, we've got 2 people in Boston that work in our company. Boston is an ecosystem that, when you're talking about stuff like engagement and marketing, it has a much richer culture of businesses that have been there for a longer period of time, that have built and evangelized that these types of spaces. Same things for cybersecurity, other fields like that. So now I have a situation where I have people that are working in my marketing department or my sales department here locally that are collaborating with experts that have been in multiple companies over a whole career in an area, an ecosystem that was moving more quickly into that direction of sort of digital marketing and engagement and whatnot. So there's the learning that my employees are getting, my growth that the company gets. I have people now in Boston that are incorporated into the company here. The other way that goes, and this is something I think entrepreneurs have to be considerate of, but every individual out there is not required to, like, you can be in Cape Breton and you could get a job with a company in Silicon Valley or Boston. And a lot of people don't think that way, but that opens up even from an employment perspective, opens up a really interesting concept where you can live wherever you want within reason, providing that there's water and food and internet and those types of key requirements for the job. But if you're doing a job that's now sitting in front of a computer, I mean, I'm talking to customers all over the place, small to medium sized internet-based businesses that are using us to get their security together quickly and their compliance in order for their businesses. But I'm not talking to people in their offices most of the time. Most of these time, people are sitting in their bedroom, or they're sitting in a little bunker in their basement, or they're working from home. So like, you got people moving around and finding new places. I meet people all the time out here in Cape Breton that have come here, bought a home, sight unseen. They still have their job in Toronto or Calgary or what have you. So, I think it's really positive. I think it's positive for businesses. I think it's positive for people that are looking for work. I think it's positive for our economy. The only downside, and I think businesses that are intranet-based businesses here have to think of, is that it forces us to almost have to equalize. Like, there's almost like a pay scale equalization that's happening right now across the country in terms of various jobs, where a software developer in Toronto would get a certain price. That same person would get a lower price in Halifax and an even lower price in Cape Breton. And that's equalizing out, and we're getting almost like, here's the Canadian range. And I think it does force us maybe to think about that, and that's one of the struggles. But I think the upside of it, the upskilling of people, the availability of talent, and the opportunity for people of all ages that are doing anything that they're doing on a computer, there's just so much opportunity. And I see kids all the time and hear parents talking all the time about what their options are. They're talking about for their children in a career. And the careers opportunities are moving so quickly right now. The academic world is struggling to keep up, and there's, but it's exciting how much opportunity is out there. And I always say to people, like, don't think about your options like this. Your options are like this now. It's already going that way. This isn't something new, but COVID really created an environment that has accelerated that. And I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome for the province.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Thank you for that, Darren. And I can tell you, as a father of 4 kids, the oldest of which is at second year computer science. So maybe he'll be knocking on your door or No, he'll be sending you some sort of a engagement link, trying to get employment opportunities. So, Don, interested in your comments on this digital shift, but also the opportunity that we see from work from home, and how that works and what you've seen.
Yeah, I think the coverage from both SAEED and DARREN, is immense, and really they reflect my thoughts on it. I wanted to stress on Darren's last point as well, with respect to the fact that our salaries will be going up in Nova Scotia. And so on one hand, yes, it's a challenge for local IT industry in the sense that our cost will also go up because when the salaries go up as well. But I totally agree with him that it's a great opportunity for our province to have higher salaries. And then it means that the junior people that we're coaching from, the community colleges and from the universities and so forth to go into an IT career, it just means that the prospects are even brighter. It also means that we have the opportunity to keep our youth in rural areas in Nova Scotia, and that's extremely important. I mean, we have a great university system that supports geographically all of Nova Scotia right now. So, so that's a strength that we can leverage even further out. We saw that the Premier donated the 18 million from the province to the computer science areas in the 4 universities already in disparate geographies. I think that was an excellent move on that part as well. I do see that because of this demand, if as we have this coverage, and I know you will ask a question about inclusivity and diversity, and so forth, but obviously, for us to support this workforce, we need to have great internet connectivity everywhere. We need to have the computers accessible, so the equipment, whether it's tablet or laptops or whatever. We need to follow up on that 1998 policy that we had, that no Canadian should drive more than 10, kilometers before they can get an internet access, for example. But, ensure that it actually goes to each home now, so that we can create that workforce that we want to, because it's not just the core hardcore IT parts, but it's all the soft skills that are also, and the soft skill careers that also go digital, right? And so that means uniformly across every single type of discipline, there's this opportunity for everyone to rise. And so obviously to have that infrastructure in place is going to be very important in Nova Scotia. I saw yesterday that Quebec and our Prime Minister announced, their plan to, by 2022, to have, every Quebecer connected as well. And they're talking about satellite access and, because it's too expensive to run the cable across the long distances and so forth, fiber ops. Well, we have a few challenges still left there too. And I'm hoping that we might have an even more aggressive date, that maybe by December 2021, every Nova Scotian connected and can take advantage of this opportunity for this new workforce, for this, and also the global opportunities that Darren also referred to as well. We see that as well in our teams around where you can take advantages of the different time zones, even around the world. When you consider, I'm sure Saeed sees a lot for customer care. You can go 24/7 by using the different time zones around the world and synchronizing there within your global team. So lots of great opportunities for us, Peter.
Great. Yeah. That's an excellent point. I'll give a little plug for our sister agency right now, which is Develop Nova Scotia, who are leading the internet charge, and they do have very aggressive targets, and they've done a fantastic job. I can tell you that through the pandemic, we worked very closely with them, and the digital adoption program, which we brought in that I talked about earlier, that's married up very closely with the fact that, okay, well, it's great to have digital adoption so that you can reach people through the internet and that your clients can connect through the internet, but they better have internet. So that is it's a very aggressive strategy, and happy to hear Darren say that he's got great connection from his house back to his new office space. So that's fantastic to hear. And yes, you're right, Don. I am going to talk about inclusive economic development, inclusivity, and inclusive workforces. And we had a really good session earlier in our conference today on inclusivity at the leadership level. And Don, I'll get you maybe to expand a little bit, because your business and your work, you do support your client's social responsibility aspects there. And I think there's a role for our companies, because we have, of course, this digital divide that people are talking about. And unfortunately, the pandemic has exposed inequalities around that digital divide. So how can companies work to close this divide?
Yeah. So, I think the first thing is that we have to look within. And so we need to be an example ourselves, and to be that role model, show what it means to have diversity inside a workforce, in our companies internally in Nova Scotia, and then with our partners outside, in terms of how we encourage that as well. All the advantages for having inclusivity and diversity are really well known. We know from a global perspective, from a multiracial perspective, what it means, bringing the different perspectives to bear to create new value. We know the good things that happen there. So there are a number of initiatives that, for example, in our firm that we've followed. So we've subscribed to the 50-30 challenge, Canada Challenge for Diversity and Inclusion. I would encourage, any Canadian company to do that as well, looking at ensuring that about 50% of your workforce is BIPOC, and that, at least 30% representation on your board for women and other minorities too, right? And so, so we've managed to create that in our firm. And then, of course, when we talk to sustainability, they know it's coming from somebody who's living it. And I think that, I think being authentic is important, that we show our Canadian values out there by living it ourselves, and being able to translate that across to our products and to our customers too.
Okay, great. Perfect. So we'll do this as a lightning round, because I think we also have a question from the audience. But SAEED, Darren, maybe sort of 30 seconds on this. It's an important topic, but on the digital divide.
Absolutely. So, EDI is an important topic. Since we started the business back in 2010, we very much focused on the concept of hiring for the right person for the right job, rather than looking at where the person is from, what they do, and anything like that. That is, a culture that was, adopted from the top, and, forced all the way throughout the organization. And if you look at our employee base, you'll see that it's fully reflected in how we hire and how we do things. So I think it's something that every CEO needs to adopt and force within the organization. Otherwise, it will not get done. And we're going to have, a portion of our population. If you go to Toronto, 30% of the population is represented by immigrants, and so on. Where in Nova Scotia, we're only about anywhere between 4 to 5%. So, that's going to take time, because we don't have that bigger population. But I think adoption now, being a global economy where you can hire from around the world, your key is very simple. As a business, you're looking for the right hire for the right job, for you to maximize profit, period. And if you can follow that strategy, you're going to be successful.
Great. Thank you. Darren?
Yeah, I would say, for us, like, we initially started with an office in Cape Breton, and our entire team was in Cape Breton. So, by the nature of software developers in Cape Breton, you pretty much take anyone who comes to the door with the skill set, with because you have to. And certainly, since we've gone to this complete remote model, we've seen, as we're recruiting and building our team, we're seeing more diversity, more ability to have diversity in the team. To be honest, in tech, it's in Cape Breton, it has been very difficult. So it's really exciting to be able to get some diversity in the business. And as we grow and as we build out a board, that's something that, we're not going to be thinking just exclusively to geographical boundaries, but really, like SAEED said, go out and look for the, for the best people that we can to build the company. And that will certainly opening up those borders really enables you to do that in a bigger way.
Okay, thanks. Great. All right, lightning round, sort of one word. Number one thing business should do. Don.
Engagement.
Engagement. Yeah, you said that. That's good.
Yeah. Go online with Shopify or Rakuten if you're in retail or manufacturing. Do drop shipping. Use their capabilities.
Perfect. Sure. E-commerce. Yeah, take advantage of what they do well.
Sure.
Darren? Oop, can't hear Darren.
Sorry. I would say I would focus on learning. This is a really phenomenal time to learn. There's never been more available resources, and the world has never been evolving, and the way business operates has never been evolving more rapidly than it is now. So I would say learn all the time, even if you're busy. If you don't learn, you won't be busy eventually because you'll miss the boat.
Perfect. You know what? I think excellent answers by all of our panelists, of course. So I thank you. Thank you, SAEED. Thank you, Don. And thank you, Darren. And thank you to all the attendees for joining in on our session. I know I got some great things out of this. I hope you did too. And as we mentioned earlier, business as usual is not an option here. So you learn about how you can take advantage of new technology through marketing, security, and blockchain. It'll help you digitally transform. So if I'll do a little plug again for our program, because we did talk about some of the costs. Somebody mentioned earlier about some of these certifications and different things like that. We do have a program, so reach out to NSBI if you need some assistance on that as well. Thanks again, everyone. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Pleasure.